What's up, guys? We are less than 2 weeks away from the 2025 NFL Draft, 10 days away to be exact. Getting here before you know it. My name is Harrison Graham. This is 4 Verts, where we talk NFL and college football every single day. I've got my 4 Verts big board, my top 25 prospects in this year's draft. Not the most top-heavy draft of all time, but I think a pretty interesting one. Let's go ahead and get into it. My number 1 overall player in this draft is Travis Hunter, the cornerback / wide receiver for Colorado. I just think such a unique skill set. If anybody could play both ways, this guy can do it. He's got the stamina. He's got the endurance. I think it depends on what team drafts him in terms of which side of the football would I rather him play more on, but I think he could be a full-time corner. I think he could be a full-time receiver. I think he could be a full-time corner that has a receiver sub-package. I think the opposite could be true. So I think it'll depend where he lands, what his role ends up being, but he's a dynamic athlete with the ball in his hands. He's sticky in coverage, great ball skills, just a tremendous and a once-in-a-decade type of prospect. Okay, number 2, Abdul Carter. You could make the argument that he's the top player in this draft, especially if you just wanted to pinpoint, I don't have to worry about what side of the ball he's playing and all of that. But I'll have him at number 2. He's had some minor injury hiccups leading up to the draft. He's had a foot issue, a shoulder problem, but it doesn't sound like either of those are long-term. In his first full year as an edge rusher, he had 12 sacks, so still learning the position, but already looks like a natural. I've seen the comps to Micah Parsons, number 11, Penn State. I think that's a little bit of a reach, but I think he could be 85-90% of the player Micah is, and in this draft, that's a tremendous talent. We'll see if he goes 2 or 3 to the Giants or to the Browns, but he's an excellent player with some versatility and big-time upside. All right, guys, thank you guys so much. Round of applause. We crossed 9,000 subscribers here on the channel. Can we get to 10,000 by the draft? That's obviously a stretch with it next week. Maybe by the end of the draft, we could shoot for 10,000 subscribers, but that'd be an awesome milestone for us. I would greatly appreciate it. I appreciate all the support already, but we launched this channel last July before the preseason last year. 10,000 subs by the end of the draft. That'd be pretty cool. So share the link with a friend, youtube.com/@4verts, daily NFL and college football content. Okay, number 3, I've got Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. I think the top 2 is clear, whatever order, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, vice versa. And then I think you get into a debate between 3 or 4 guys. I like Mason Graham. I think part of the reason I give him the edge here at number 3 is in the year of 2025, these NFL teams really value those interior disruptors on the defensive line. I think he's the best one in this class. It's a good defensive tackle draft, but I do think he's the best one. Excellent run stopper, good pass rusher. I think his best football still ahead of him. Team captain caliber player, so I've got him at number 3. Okay, I got Ashton Jeanty at number 4, the running back out of Boise State. When you compare to recent guys who went high in the draft, a Bijan Robinson. Bijan's probably a tick more dynamic, but I think he's that caliber of prospect. I don't think he's quite a Saquon Barkley, but his contact balance is some of the best I've ever seen. He can catch the football. 2 years ago, he had over 500 yards receiving. Last year, his receiving numbers were down because Boise just ran him into the ground. So, clean prospect is what these scouts talk about. No off-field concerns at all. Can step into a building, and you can trust him right away. He played in some gap concepts at Boise. They use some zone concepts as well. He's scheme-proof. I think he's going to be an excellent back in the league for a long, long time. At number 5 is Will Campbell. If he had 34-inch arms, he'd be in the conversation, I think, to be the best prospect in this draft because despite having shorter arm length, I think he's got a chance to be a franchise-level left tackle. And even if not, I think he could be an all-pro guard, high-character guy, multi-year captain at LSU. And he was setting protections at LSU as a left tackle at 20 years old this past season. I mean, that is pretty unheard of. His athleticism, his footwork, his technique is all up to par. The only question is the arm length and the overall wingspan. Will that get him into trouble at the NFL level? Probably on occasion at left tackle. I would still play him at left tackle, and if at some point you got to kick him inside, so be it. But wherever he plays, you'll be able to find him a spot in the offensive line where he's going to play at a high level, and I think right away. So I've got him at number 5. I've got Armand Membou, the offensive lineman out of Missouri, at number 6. The question here is he only a right tackle and guard, or could he play left tackle? If teams view him as a left tackle option, You could make the argument that he's a higher upside guy than Will Campbell, but tremendous tape this past year from Missouri. I think he's the best pure right tackle in this draft. He would be an excellent guard, has all the measurables and power and technique that you're looking for to be a guard, especially in zone schemes. They can get him out in space and let him go to work on the move. He's a little shorter for a tackle. He's about 6'4", so again, you're kind of nitpicking with him and Will Campbell, but they're both really, really good prospects that can play multiple positions. I've got Penn State tight end Tyler Warren at number 7. There seems to be this debate between him and Colston Loveland, and I think it's one of those pick your flavor things. I like Warren more because I think he can do more things. Now, I think you need him, or he's got a better chance to excel with a creative offensive mind, whereas Colston Loveland might be more like team scheme proof, if that makes sense. Like you just play him at tight end, he'll be good. With Warren, you got to get a little creative to get the most out of him, do different things, manufacture touches for him, but he's a good blocker, good contested catch guy. You can use him on the move. You can line him up in the backfield. If he goes to the right team with the right coach, with the right creativity, I think he could really excel. Really, really fun player, and I think one of the best in this class. At number 8, I've got Marshall edge Mike Green. There's a lot of debate. Who's the best edge rusher after Abdul Carter in this draft? Is it a Jalon Walker, who's kind of a hybrid edge linebacker? Is it Mike Green out of Marshall? Is it Mykel Williams, Shamar Stewart? I like Green because I just think his tape's the best. Like, I know he played at Marshall, but when he played Ohio State, he had a sack and multiple pressures. When he played Virginia Tech, he had 2 sacks and 8 pressures. At the Senior Bowl, he dominated. Like, when he got a chance to go up against big-time competition, he excelled. Little undersized, 6'3", 251, but he's much bigger than Jalon Walker. He's very polished. Has one of the best spin moves I can remember for a prospect. He's got a cross chop. He sets the edge with his physicality despite his size. I've compared him to Khalil Mack. I'm not sure he'll be that good in the NFL, but the measurables and testing and tape and background of going to a smaller school are similar. The only question here for me is the off-the-field stuff. He's got a couple of sexual assault allegations out there. Never ran into legal issues that have been made public, but teams are obviously going to look into that. They value character, especially this high in the draft, very, very seriously. But as a pure football player, I've got him as a top 10 player in this draft. Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona. You could kind of flip 8 and 9 here if you want. If you're a team that needs more offense, I'd go T-Mac over Green. If you need defense, vice versa. They're very similar caliber prospect to me. 6'4", 215, low 4.5s in the 40. People are worried because he ran the 4.5s. I'm like, just throw on the film with him. He's good after the catch. He's fluid. He's not one of these stiff, bigger receivers. Like his hip fluidity is there. He's good after the catch, crisp route runner, both underneath and downfield. I think he's going to be really good. There's been different comps for him. I don't love the Mike Evans one. I mean, not Mike Evans is like 235 pounds. He's a little thinner at 215, 218, but I think he's going to be a big-time player. Good ball skills, good hands, good route runner. I don't really see a weakness in his game. I love Dallas at 12 for him if he falls there. Gives you a different look to CeeDee Lamb. So, he's top 10 guy for me. Okay, I do have Cam Ward at number 10. I think he's a really good and intriguing prospect. I do think there's flaws. Like if you put him in last year's QB draft, based on how he played this past year at Miami, if you could plug this current version into last year's draft, I probably would have had him at QB4 behind Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, who were my top 3 in that order at the time. Obviously, after a year of playing, you would reevaluate. But based on the time, I would have had Cam Ward at 4. Like I would have had him ahead of Penix, JJ, and Bo Nix. Play some hero ball too often, but you love the confidence, you love the swagger. People rave about his leadership ability. Just coming up from Incarnate Ward to Washington State and then carrying a Miami team with no defense last year. Like he's really had to earn this. The arm talent is supreme. So, top 10 player in this draft. I think in this draft worthy of going number 1 overall, even if in most drafts that would not be the case. What do you guys think? In this draft, just as a pure player, is Cam Ward a top 10 prospect? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think he is. I got him right at number 10. You could argue like 7. Like if you wanted to say he's a better prospect than Mike Green, factoring positional value, of course. But I've got him at number 10 just as a pure player. Y for yes and for no. Okay, 11 through 15 here. Mykel Williams, the edge out of Georgia. I've kind of come back around on him, did a little bit more studying. Like, he is just big, physical, athletic. I kind of forgot. He had a bad ankle sprain last year that he fought through, only missed a couple of games. I value that he played through that as well and still had some level of production compared to like a Shamar Stewart, for example, who I'm down on because he didn't have a ton of production. And he's not even 21 yet. So really young player who has a chance to be really, really good. I've got him at number 11. Kelvin Banks Jr. at number 12. Kind of like Will Campbell. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? I don't think his feet are quite as good as Campbell. Too often he ends up on the ground, but I like the positional versatility. 3-year starter at left tackle at a program like Texas. That speaks volumes to me. No red flags that I've heard in terms of character or off the field. I think you could bring him in. He could be your left tackle. You could play him at guard. You could flip him to right tackle. He's played a lot of ball this past year in the SEC, and then 2 years before that in the Big 12. So a lot of experience at a high level. I've got Jalon Walker at 13. I don't know really what to do with him personally. If you get him in a 3-4 defense, I really like him. I'm not sure where he plays in a 4-3 because I don't love his off-ball linebacker skills, especially in coverage. But when you get him leaning downhill as a run support guy and as a pass rusher, I think you can get a lot out of him. But I still wonder, where does he play down to down, especially in a 4-3? Like I think to really maximize his skill set, you got to get him with the creative defensive mind that ideally runs a 3-4. I'll kind of trust the NFL on this one. Guys like Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah have him as their 5th-ranked prospect. I'm not going to go crazy with that, but I'll put him in my top 15. Derrick Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. He's been rising up my board. Really good against the run. You see the flashes of him as an interior pass rusher as well. He just got better and better as the season went on. Not to use the cliche, but I do think he's a guy that's still improving and likely will have his best football in front of him. 6'4", 315, moves well, powerful. I really, really like him. I've got him one spot ahead of Walter Nolen because I think they're very similar, but Harmon's about 15 pounds heavier and they move more similar. And Nolen, there's been whispers of attitude problems, immaturity. So if all things are equal, I'll take the guy who's had less character question marks. Okay, at number 16, Omarion Hampton. I think he's clearly the second best running back in this draft behind Ashton Jeanty. Back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons. Catches the football well. Explosive. Can play gap or zone schemes, in my opinion. Not great in pass pro, but that's pretty much all the top running backs in this draft outside of Travion Henderson. So I think he's right away a guy who can be a 3-down runner. Okay, Colston Loveland at 17. I'm not quite as high on him as some NFL draft evaluators, but I still think he's an excellent player. 3-down starting tight end for sure. Improved as a blocker this year. Crisp route runner. He's not the most explosive player by any means, but he's just smooth. That's the word I would use to describe him. I think he could be a top 10 tight end in this league for a long time. I'm just not sure he's ever a top 5 tight end. Okay, Will Johnson, his teammate, the corner out of Michigan. The biggest question marks here are the long speed. Did not run the 40 today when he worked out for teams. In a zone coverage scheme, I really like him. If you're asking him to be a press man guy, I don't like it. I don't think he's got the long speed to catch up to guys who beat him initially. So I think he's more scheme dependent. But if you get him in a coverage scheme where you can kind of let him use his instincts and play off of instincts, he's going to be a productive player. But if you say, hey, just go play defense on an island for 50 snaps, he's going to get beat a handful of times. Jihaad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. Some guys have him higher, and I don't argue against that. I think he's a really good player. Obviously, positional value plays a role here a little bit here. You can play him at some edge, especially in a 3-4 as a blitzer. He's got that versatility, but he can drop and play into coverage as well. Tampa at 19 has been heavily linked to him, so I could see that being a fit in Todd Bowles' defense. Okay, Josh Simmons at number 20. Had he not had the knee injury, he'd be probably a top 10 player in this class, but recovering from a serious knee injury. There's been whispers about his football character as well. But, if I'm a team that needs a left tackle for the future and he slips past, the midway point of the first round, I would not hesitate. Same with Josh Conerly Jr. Out of Oregon. He's been moving up for me. He's kind of similar to Josh Simmons, but not the injury concern. I think Simmons' ceiling is higher, and what we saw before the injury this year was pretty damn impressive. But Connerly put together a good season for the Ducks. I think he could be a day one starter at left tackle, or at least contribute early on for a team. Who do you guys like better? Who's the better prospect, JS for Simmons or JC for Connerly? If the injury wasn't there, I'd lean Simmons, but I would not be shocked if Connerly went ahead of Josh Simmons in this draft, just given the injury concern. Okay, Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. Not the best athlete, tested kind of average, but tape is good. He can play multiple spots. I think he can play both safety positions. He can play nickel for you as well. Willing tackler and run support, which I value a lot in my safeties. And in those split safety kind of coverage schemes, he can cover enough ground as well. Nick Immanwori, kind of the opposite. If you want the high athletic profile guy who also put together some good tape and statistics, take Immanwori. I think Starks is a more instinctive player and probably just a better overall football player. But if you think you can maximize Immanwori's athletic traits, then take him higher because his athleticism and size speed profile is off the charts. One of the best combine testers we've ever seen. But unlike a guy like Shamar Stewart, actually did have some ball production in college. Okay, Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, more of a one-tech compared to guys like Harmon and Walter Nolen, but excellent against the run. Can also provide a little bit of pass rush from that one-tech spot. 335 pounds, is a good mover as well. Excited to see where he goes because I think he's one of those guys that could really explode in the NFL. And then Jahdae Barron at 25. Sub 31-inch arms. It's tough to be an outside corner with shorter arms like that. I think his best position is nickel in the NFL, which is an ascending position. So I still think he's a top 25 player. I think he could play free safety as well. I think he can play outside corner, especially in zone schemes, but I think it's going to be tough for him to jam consistently in the NFL just due to that arm length. So I do think kind of like Will Johnson, depends on scheme, but very instinctive player. Better long speed than a guy like Will Johnson. So, again, it's kind of a pick-your-flavor situation between those two players. All right, there you go. My 4 Verts. Excuse me, got a little cough here. Top 25 big board as we are 10 days away from the NFL draft. My name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody that watched our 3-round mock draft. Go check it out. Subscribe and check the content tab. If you haven't watched that already, go find out who your favorite team lands in that 3-round mock. And we'll be back tomorrow with another video. See you then.